This is Bwana from Bwana.tv. This is another question coming from Luke. Luke says a bunch of stuff, but I'm going to get to the question. He says, my friend and I are both Windows users, and all of our life, all of our software is in Windows and everything. We were looking at purchasing a Mac. How was the transition from Windows to Mac? Easy. Ballparking, how much does it cost to buy all new Mac software without installing VMware Fusion and support for Windows? We're both looking to heavily use iMovie and iLife Suite, which already comes installed on 09 Mac. Any advice? Okay, this is a great question. I'll do my best to answer it because there's a lot of objectivity to these types of questions because everybody has their own experiences. So what I'll do is I'll try to describe my experience. In 2001 is when I believe it was October-ish 2001 is when I bought my first Mac. This was when the G4s were out. This is when you couldn't get a Mac for less than $1,800. So I invested heavily into a dual processor G4. It was like $4 grand when I bought it. I know, come a long way since then. Prices are a lot better. And I was a heavy Unix user. I would use Unix more so than Windows in terms of Linux, BSD, and Sun OS. Those were my favorite three. So I was heavily into X Windows and command prompts and all that stuff. In terms of Windows, though, I did use Windows because I used it for my job, and I actually supported Windows a lot. So in terms of software, I was used to Microsoft Office. I was used to Microsoft Visio, which is included in some offices. Visio. I was used to Adobe software. I was accustomed to the Microsoft Development Suite. I don't remember the name. Visual C++, I think it was called at the time. The visual stuff. I was used to that stuff. So that was my world when I was transitioning from Windows to Mac. So for me, it was a very seamless transition in terms of Unix, because as you know, Mac OS X kind of has a Unix kernel, and you have command prompts. And at the time when I transitioned, a lot of the free software was still being transferred over. So everything I loved in Linux wasn't quite there, but it was there. So that was my transition. The software I really had to buy was Adobe Photoshop, which killed my pocket. I forgot to mention, I did use Photoshop on Windows. Adobe Photoshop, I think that was version 7 that I bought. And then there was Microsoft Office. I actually bought those two for Mac OS X. I don't remember the cost of Mac Office. I think it was $300 at the time, $200 or $300. But all in all, I spent about close to $600, $700, $500, $600, $700 around that on software. That's my ballpark to get all new Mac software. I don't think, I'm trying to remember if there wasn't any iWork back then. iLife, I believe, was there in terms of iTunes and iPhoto, I think. No, iPhoto wasn't even out. So there was, yeah, I was kind of early back then. So it's something that I definitely think you're making the right decision, and something that I think you really need to put some thought into. Look into the software packages that you use and price them. I think Office is a common one because a lot of people use Office. Adobe Tools is another one. But as you'll see, a lot of these tools are cross-platform. Let's see, ballparking, how much it costs? I think I answered everything. Advice is go for it, and don't be afraid to try new software. There's a ton of Mac software that people just don't know about. It's not heavily advertised in the mainstream world, all the different software that Mac has out there. Namely Quicksilver. Nobody knows about Quicksilver out there outside the Mac community. Also there's great stuff like my video stuff that I use. Visual Hub, it's gone out of business now, but it was great software at the time, and your favorite browsers are there and everything's there. But I think you'll have a seamless transition, and if you ever have to go back, you talked about VMware Fusion, so you have that option. I hope I answered that question. That's a very hard question to answer. something that I do not think has a right answer. It's a very, very objective question. And I wish you both, Luke and your friend, all the best on getting transitioned to Mac. Alright, this is Bwana from Bwana.tv, and this is Luke's question about making that switch to Mac. Enjoy.